Well, welcome back DIY car guys and car girls. Today, we're going to do some rips in the 400. First rips ever with this motor. But first, we have to take these little cams right here for your carburetor. And I do this a little differently. I shave them down. I get them to work exactly how I want because I got 50 cc's in the front and back. Remember, you don't have to use all those 50 cc's. I like using these guys so I can shave them down to work perfect with my motor. So that's what we're doing today. This and rips. And of course, they do make kits with a whole bunch of cams for your Holley carburetors, Holleys, whatever. Any 4150 uses this stuff. And the only part you have to be really careful about, because I've learned this from past modifying these guys, you have to be careful on the tip-in section. This is basically the arm that comes down. It actuates another little lever that pushes in your accelerator pump and then squirts fuel up to the top of your motor. And you need that because vacuum can't pull all your lube up, through the carburetor soon enough that when you hit that throttle, it's just going to go, it's going to probably fall on its face or pop, lean pop, whatever. So this is what fixes that problem. And you can also have these guys squirting so much fuel that it can go rich or not enough, it can go lean, vice versa. That's why I use these guys, because I can just tailor this specifically to my needs and not have to dick with a whole bunch of these guys right here. I just work with one of them and I get it right for the motor. But the tip-in section, you have to be careful. Which is the top part right here. I generally stay away from this and I will shave this side right here, because if not, you'll open up your throttle blades and this guy won't move into a certain point, which is going to cause it to have a lean stumble like that. So the very top, I don't mess with those. I just mess with the other section. So this is a black one right here for I think it's a 30 cc. I'm running 50s, and you can see the huge difference. This one has more of a tip-in, this one has less of a tip-in. See right there? But that is all the extra sauce you get with a 30 cc cam right there. And like I said, you can tailor these to your needs. That's just what I do. If you don't want to do it, guys have been fine at just taking the 30 cc's and using a bunch of these guys, try them out, they got them correct. But I've had the best luck with this. That's just me, it's how I do it. So I stay away from this section right here and I'll grind this side right here. This has already been worked a little bit. I'll show you what I do. You can see right there, I'm staying away from the tip-in area. Then, after you're done, take yourself some fine sandpaper. Oops, it's falling on my hand. And just get it all nice and smooth. No one likes it rough. Well, maybe some of you guys like it rough, but I like it nice and smooth. And we'll just kind of get all that looking good. And you put it on, and then you try it. Let's make a rip. And of course, before we do rips, we got to put it on there. So this guy basically just goes on the flat side first. And then it's going to be that second screw right there. So hopefully I can do this around the camera. This is definitely a little tricky. Oh shit, see, I just dropped it. All right. Well, let's try this again. Little hole right there. Let's get it in there. Super simple. And then the cam is installed. Now, what you want to make sure, the moment you hit this, you see gas coming out the top right here. See that little squirt? I'm going to do it again. You want it to come out right away. She's a squirter. It is hot outside. I've only been out here for maybe that quick little moment and I'm already sweating. It's like 90 plus degrees outside. Probably like 90, but it's hot. So most of the motors, when I first put them in there, it's usually cooler in the year. I try to get them started earlier in the year so I can have fun with it during the season, but this one had problems, of course. So I'm probably giving this guy, full pulls in the worst conditions you can for an NA motor, which is 90 degree heat, a whole bunch of humidity, and it's hot outside. But we'll see how it acts. Okay, so after coming back and consuming some sweet nectar of the car gods, and also cooling off because the S10, it is not a very comfortable 90+ degree temperature vehicle. You're pretty much sweating your balls off in that thing. It's pretty miserable. So I generally like to do all this stuff when it's cooler outside, but it is what it is. We're here now. So obviously, you know, when I first hit it, I was a little disappointed. I thought it was going to be a little stronger pulling, but I got to remind myself that it feels like the LT1 did with 411 gears, a looser converter, and 28 spline axles on a 60-degree day in A. Remember, I upgraded this guy to 32 spline axles, a tighter converter, and a longer gear. So it is definitely pulling way stronger than the LT1 did. Maybe it's not quite where I wanted it to be. And of course, it is pretty hot outside. How fast is it over the LT1? I am not sure. I don't think the headers are helping it out at all. These headers definitely way too small for this motor. But anyways, let's get back to tuning it. As you can see, when I first tipped into it and stabbed at it, it went rich and then it went back to that happy AFR range. So that tells me right now that we need to fix the accelerator pumps and get them a little bit leaner, which is surprising because this guy wanted all the squirt you can give it, even with this setup right here. So all I can think of is this guy is pulling a lot more vacuum through the carburetor. The signal is really good, and also I need to fix the cruising air fuel range. It's definitely way fatter than I want it to be. I've already gone all the way down to a 2.5 power valve in the front. I went down in the jets and that fixed it, but the problem with that was when I went super, had to be a big spread. The spread was like, you know, 70s in the front and like 80 somethings in the back. To fix that, it was going lean, and I now have the AFR at a happy safe range, which is about a 9 spread from the front to the back. Typically it's an 8 spread. So only way I can think to fix that is I'm gonna get another metering block. I'm gonna have to drill out the enrichment circuit in the power valve and go down on the jets and then monkey around with the power valve to get it exactly where it needs to be on the cruise. So on the front we have a 31. I left a 31 in there because I think that's probably good. I'm gonna leave it right there. Well, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna shade this guy down a little more. I shaked it down some, didn't seem to help that much. I can go a little more off this for a little less squirt in the front. But I think the one in the back, which is a 35, I'm gonna substitute the 35 and put a 31 in the back and see how that affects the air fuel right when we stab at it and get into the throttle real hard. So I'm gonna shade this guy down, swap out the 35 for 31, and we'll make another rip and see how it acts. Let's get to it. Okay, so as you see, it's definitely a process to get those cams and the accelerator pumps and the discharge nozzles dialed in just perfectly to always keep your AFR range or your fueling right in happy range where it wants to make power when you're going from off idle to wide open throttle. And I know eventually we can get there because I got this guy right here to do that. And once you get to that point, it's definitely rewarding because you can just tell whenever you're wrapping into it and hitting it, everything just feels just a little more crisp, a little more responsive. When you're coming off, you know, there's a cruise or idle condition, it just, you can tell the motor's just like, it wants to be right there in the range where it makes the most power with that given air fuel range. Like I said, I don't know exactly where this guy wants to be air fueling that. The dyno will tell you that, or at the track, your mile per hour will also tell you that.
but it's in a safe zone. It's right around 12.5 for right now, so we know we're not going to really hurt anything. Some people say, well, you know, 13.0 makes the most power, blah, blah, blah. Actually, you really don't know until you're either at the track or you're at the dyno where your motor makes peak horsepower and what AFR wants to be at. But we're going to figure all that out. Got a lot to still iron out in this tune-up, but for our first outing, I'm happy. The motor sounds healthy. It doesn't sound like it's going to come apart, and it pulls pretty darn good. So until next time, guys, keep on wrenching, and peace.